Thank you, David. Modular construction anyway, has been the aspiration of architects and engineers really for generations. Frank Lloyd Wright experimented with it, so did Buckminster Fuller, even Sears and Thomas Edison had modular solutions. So it's not a new concept at all. In fact, it's pretty prevalent on low-rise scales here in the state, and in Europe it's quite popular as well. Couple of solutions that we have here in Europe. Locally, we've done this in New York on a low-rise pieces. Even in the early days at Atlantic Center Housing was done modularly, fabricated and delivered in units to the site. So, modular construction is really the process by which components of the building are fabricated off-site. It's either sub-assemblies or other components are fabricated in a factory and then delivered to the site and erected in place. So there's several major components of what is modular construction. In fact, there are four real major parts of modular construction. The first component is really the excavation of the foundation, the work that David said that as you approach the site from the ground will look pretty much the same as you see in any other building project. There's the modular fabrication that will go on off-site. In this particular case, it's going to occur in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And then the modular erection is where the site work and the off-site work is brought to the site and created. And then in the last but not least, final phase is we finish the site work and we enclose the building around the bottom of the building and get the elevators working and close it out. In this slide, you can see the four components, and we compare them here to a conventional construction. What makes modular construction, what modular construction does very effectively is it really has a dual track, both the on-site and the fabrication facility work, and that's really where the time saving comes in. And in our particular case here, we're projecting a 20-month schedule from the time that we start excavating on site through the time that we approach the other phases and deliver the modules to the site and close. So in essence, we're projecting that the current B2 solution is erected and completed in a 20-month scenario as opposed to the 30-month program that was contemplated in the FEIS. So logistically, how does this work on our site? So the first things that you will see as you approach the site is what we've all come to love as MTP. That's the concrete barriers and plywood fences that will enclose the construction site. The first phase, which is again about 9 months, will be the foundation and excavation and plinth construction that David mentioned. And on this slide, we see how the pedestrian traffic flows. We have a 6-foot wide covered traditional sidewalk bridge along Flatbush Avenue. We have a 5-foot wide pedestrian walkway along Dean Street, and we maintain the pedestrian traffic flow in that manner. On this side, we see how the vehicular traffic operates. So Flatbush, and you'll see here that Flatbush Avenue traffic patterns will remain unchanged. We move the bus stop that's currently on Dean Street down the street a bit. We move it east a bit to get it away from the construction fence. And finally, we maintain a single lane of traffic along Dean Street that while there is a narrowing there, we maintain a 12-foot lane that bypasses the site for vehicular traffic down Dean Street. So as David, I'm following my paper. As David pointed out earlier, this is the first phase, the 9-month phase. The work will go on site. It will be the excavation foundation. That's the gray underbody of the slide. There is a limited amount of tile that will be used on this site for uplift purposes. The red and black that you see is the stick-built structural steel, which again will be built conventionally on site. A large bridge-looking structure here is what crosses the Dean Street entry. The contemplation of the construction is that the Dean Street entry for the arena remains open through this entire process, so we'll show the sidewalk bridging and protection that we'll have there, but this particular component spans over the Dean Street entrance. When that construction is complete, or while that construction is complete, we're working in the factory. And the fabricating facility, more accurately, because that's what it is an assembly, is really doing much of the same activities that we would have on site. We have carpentry here, we're doing mechanical, electrical, plumbing. It is the same notion, the same labor. There's not really any robotic type system here, but it is essentially the elements of construction that typically go on the site are now happening inside the factory. Just to expand on the chassis that David showed earlier, you'll see in the step one is how basically the chassis is fabricated, again, to specifications, and that's fabricated off-site. This particular scheme contemplates it being fabricated in Virginia. As the chassis comes to the site, there are sub-assemblies, so bathrooms are fabricated much in the manner that we would fabricate them on site, but then dropped into place. We install the wall framing, and we then move on to put in the gypsum drywall and put in the finishes and the facade and complete the unit. Each of the units will have a weather-tight cover. The sides will also have a weather-tight enclosure, so the unit will be completely weather-sealed, fabricated, and then made ready for delivery. Again, going back to the site here, as we get ready for the module erection in phase 2, you'll see that we have we adjust the pedestrian traffic a little bit. We're able to open up the Flatbush Avenue pedestrian side and make that a 10-foot wide walkway. We maintain the 5-foot walkway, and you'll see at the Dean Street entry, we create a covered platform. So that the pedestrian entrance and exiting on the arena site is maintained while construction is going on overhead. This process will take place approximately 12 months. So all the deliveries that come to the site will be permitted by DOT on DOT-approved truck routes. The module trucks are licensed and will have escort vehicles. There'll be flag individuals that will be stationed at the appropriate places to get the trucks in and out. You'll see an image of what it looks like there. We expect we'll have about 8 to 12 modules delivered a day. One module will be delivered overnight so that we could stage during the early morning. The contemplation here is that the modules will be delivered down Flatbush Avenue after the morning rush. So here's the route from the Brooklyn Navy Yard. We'll exit the Brooklyn Navy Yard onto Flushing Avenue, turn around Navy Street and Tillery Street, but essentially we'll be coming down Flatbush Avenue after the morning rush, and DOT has permitted us to make the left turn from Flatbush Avenue directly onto Dean Street. This minimizes the amount of truck activity that's on any of the side streets. There's a blow-up slide of us making that left-hand turn, pulling into the lifting area that's on Dean Street. And it's in that position that the modules we picked up, in that purple position where the module will be picked up with an on-site crane and stacked in the manner that David was talking about earlier. So the modules are picked up. This is a pretty good shot of what it looks like. They're picked up directly from the truck and placed directly onto the building. There's an erection through there that will be bolted in place. The modules are bolted together, and the make line work underneath goes on for each module. So this is a little sequence of what it's actually going to be like to build it. The first things that you see being erected there are the brace frame. Clint is obviously there already. The modules are being integrated and stacked in conjunction with that brace frame. That brace frame looks more like structural steel. On top of the modules, as the modules are being erected, there's a crew that's bolting them together and nesting them together and creating that make line connection structurally. And then several floors below, 3 to 5 floors below that, within the cars, we'll then start connecting the electrics, the plumbing, all those things that go on inside happen typically in the cars. So while the building is being erected, we have several floors below the erection floor, we have the mechanical work going on, stitched up. And that gives you a sense of the timing and the movement of the modules. By the way, that as well as a 9-month period. And just to circle back when Chris was, this is the final image of the building. So I think Melissa's going to talk a little bit about the benefits.